Hello and welcome to the all new, all different #1 comics podcast. We are a weekly comic book podcast where each and every single week we take a look at a brand new first issue comic book that's released that very week. We break down the story and art, give it somewhat of a review, and tell you if we think that you should move on to issue number 2 or not. We also talk a little bit of comic book and related news, as well as talk about what's new in comic book shops this and next week. We also sometimes throw a creator interview in there, because why the hell not? Bob, this week we're covering the all-new #1, No. I can't go that far because, Bob, I've not introduced you. I'm Dan. That's Bob. Say hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah, that's us. This is episode number 30. You know, because why not mix it up for episode 30, right? You gotta throw different things around. Yeah. Make it fun. Make it exciting. Sure, why not? Anyways, Bob.
Even if you don't mean to when you set out on this journey.
It was all intentional. Don't worry. On this episode, we will be talking about the brand new #1 from Marvel Comics.
Magneto.
Yeah, Magneto, #1. Bob and I have this really cool Howard the Duck variant cover.
Because he turns 50.
Absolutely. It's got Professor X on there and Howard.
He looks good for a 50-year-old duck.
He looks great. I'll definitely give it to him. Very good-looking duck,
especially
as I always
for
say.
a smoking alcoholic duck.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been through George Lucas, so what do you expect? But
very true. Let's never speak of that again.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I feel like a bonus episode coming on where we review the Howard the Duck movie. Maybe we do like a marathon where we watch it like 6 times in a row and then break it down.
Have you ever seen Raiders of the Lost Ark when they open the Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah.
Yeah, after the 6th time it'll be like that.
Oh, man.
You know,
stuff.
faces will melt.
I don't know. Probably after like the 3rd time. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the all new, all different #1 comics podcast, episode number 30. Bob, I say this every time we hit a milestone, but 30 episodes. Jesus, that's insane. We've been kicking them out ever since the beginning of the year. And talk about some news that dropped this week. Nothing earth-shattering. This week's a little low stakes, but we did hear that Gal Gadot may be returning as Wonder Woman. Not like confirmed that she is, so is this actually news? I don't really know.
You know, last movie aside, which, you know, last movie was a hot mess.
Yeah, sure.
But that could have just been, you know, Warner Brothers interfering too much. Who knows? Because, you know, Patty Jenkins is a good director.
Yes, for sure.
But, you know, Wonder Woman was one of the lone bright spot movies for DC in the past, would you say, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and I mean, Gail, when she was first announced for Wonder Woman, I just didn't think, you know, she'd be great in the role. I mean, I just thought, you know, she was personally I thought, you know, just, you know, body wise she was too small.
Sure.
But she definitely bulked up, and I mean she's definitely got the training considering I don't know exactly where I can't remember exactly where she's from, but I believe, you know, everybody has to serve at least, you know, X amount of time in the military.
Oh, wow.
So, okay. I believe she definitely has that training, but no, I think she does a good job as Princess Diana. So, I'm actually excited by this news if it turns out to be true.
Yeah, this could be really, really cool. I'm seeing that she is... I don't know exactly where she's from. I don't even understand where that place is, but she was crowned Miss Israel in 2004, so I would assume that that's where she's from. I don't think you can be Miss Israel if you're not from Israel, so I'm going to say Israel. But yeah, I really like her in the role a lot too. Like you said, she was in a sea of nothingness. She was the only, I don't know, bright spot there. There was not much to look forward in the DC cinematic universe until you saw Wonder Woman on screen. Even somebody like, you know, with the charisma of like Jason Momoa or something, still didn't do enough for me to where I wanted to go back and see Aquaman anymore. But I do like her portrayal of Wonder Woman. I thought it was really good, and it ties in close enough with the comics. Like it's her own, I don't know, depiction of the character and everything, but it still works like it does in the comics. She served, yes, for 2 years in the Israel Defense Forces as a combat fitness instructor. Wow, that's got to be. And we may or may not be getting Wonder Woman back in the DC Cinematic Universe. I guess we'll wait for an official announcement. But yeah, that could be exciting. Could be cool news. How about the Loki Season 2 trailer?
Oh, I love the Loki Season 2 trailer.
Yeah, that's super fun. Kind of opens with Loki glitching like super bad. I don't know how else to explain it, but he's not supposed to be time hopping or whatever, and it's kind of glitching out.
If you've ever seen Wreck-It Ralph, it's kind of like that kind of glitching.
Yeah. Looks super cool. A really cool concept. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing other than he's like going back through, different periods in time and doing things. I don't know if he's in his own body during that. I'm assuming so. But I was also kind of getting like some Quantum Leap vibes or something.
Right.
He's just going to these different periods of time to do what? I don't know, but I assume like make something different. So that could be really cool. I always think that that's such a cool underused concept. And it's hard because you obviously don't want to rip anything off, and we don't need another Quantum Leap like in a different form or anything. But such a cool concept to just go back in time and like change something at these little points in time, and it doesn't have such high stakes as like something else that has to do with time travel, like Back to the Future or something where you can't really change anything. Really cool. So yeah, I hope they play in this universe a lot there, and I hope it turns out good. It's looking really, really good though. So I'm really excited about that. October, 6th or something, can't come soon enough. So really, really cool, especially after, Bob, I don't know if you watched Secret Invasion.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you saw all of Secret Invasion. I honestly didn't make it past episode 1. Not because I'm not interested. I just, I need to sit down and take it all in at once, and I haven't done that yet. I've heard some pretty disappointing news about it, so I don't know. I actually did, this is like a plug, I guess, but I guested on a podcast last week called the Album Concept Hour, where they go over like concept albums and kind of break it down the way that we do comics, but with albums. And at the beginning of the show, the host knew that you and I did a comic book show, so they were like, all right, man, let's talk about Secret Invasion then. What'd you think? And I was like, well, I'm a fake fan because I only watched the first episode. But yeah, I'm excited to go back and check that out. But yeah, it looks like at the very best, it's kind of like a drag in the MCU stuff. It's not anything that anybody's too pumped about. So hopefully this coming in, we'll get people revitalized in the MCU and have everybody really pumped up again.
Well, yeah, and I have heard a lot of negative comments about it, and I think a lot of that just stems from the fact, don't get me wrong, there's some good performances in there.
Sure.
I mean, of course, Samuel L. Jackson, he doesn't scream throughout the entire thing, which is weird for him.
That is odd.
But, as far as playing Nick Fury, I mean, he's he embodies Nick Fury. If you've seen one of his performances, Nick Fury, you've basically seen them all.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't have major stakes for the wider universe as a whole. And I don't want to say that's the only reason why people are shitting on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
But, of course, after all these Marvel movies, after all these years, we know that's a big factor.
Yeah, it's really interesting what people expect from the MCU, because you're right. They always want this big event, and then if they're exploring all these different corners of the Marvel universe, like everything can't be a big event.
You're not going to have that. You're not going to have the Avengers showing up.
Yeah.
In everything.
And if you did, people would complain about that then. They would say it's too overblown, there's too much going on and everything. And yeah, I think you're right. Like, you can't have that all the time. You have to have, if you're exploring that universe, you have to have the low stakes stuff go on. You have to see the world building and everything too. I mean,
what would Steve Rogers have had to do, in the Doctor Strange mystical side of the Marvel universe? Well, I mean, that's just like he has no business being in that side of the Marvel universe. He has his own niche picked out, but I mean, as far as the cosmic mystical side, you don't need him.
I don't know, man. Look. We were talking about Cap Wolf before. I'm hoping that somehow one day that lands in the MCU, and we have Steve Rogers get bit by a werewolf, and go Cap Wolf, and then I don't know, introduce some horror stuff. That would be super cool. But anyways, I could just fanboy out all day on how I want horror Marvel stuff. And I mean, look, the Werewolf by Night holiday special was top notch. That was an A+. But yeah, we need some more. Come on, keep it coming, Marvel.
See, and you didn't really see any of the other heroes pop up in that.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't need it.
It was a small, dark corner of the universe,
exactly.
and we had to explore that. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people's problem is. I think at this point, just a lot of people want the MCU to fail, of course. There's a lot of, I hate to say it, and I know we don't get political here, but there's a lot of people with louder voices than you or me who are sexist, who are misogynist, who just don't want to see diversity put on the screen and everything. So I think that's a big problem, and I'm tired of hearing that, to tell you the truth, and it just makes me lose faith in humanity a little bit more every time I do. But whatever, I'll get off my soapbox there. And again, we probably lost, I don't know, a good 20 listeners whenever you dropped the phone. We probably lost a good 50 when I just said that. So let me shut up. But
I'm just like, go and see it go and actually see it.
Yes.
Then you can judge.
Yeah.
Don't judge before you've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. That's always a big problem. And I mean, I don't know. I'll shut up. But yeah. Anyways, moving on. Miss Marvel, I don't know if you saw this, Bob. I should have sent you like a copy or something, but there was some preview pages of Miss Marvel 1 coming out. Of course, Miss Marvel 1 being co-written by Iman Vellani, the actress who plays Kamala Khan in the Miss Marvel show, and then the Marvel's movie coming up. So about 6 or 8, I don't know, 6 or 8 preview pages. No dialogue, of course, so you're just getting the art there, which is...
Right.
I mean, let me tell you right now, this art is phenomenal.
You recall the artist?
No, but spoiler alert, if we end up doing that book on the show whenever it comes out, it's going to be a 10 all day on the art, because holy crap, it looks so good. But on these preview pages, we're seeing some cool new villains. Mm-hmm. Just some people I haven't seen before, and they look really cool. And it's basically her first outing with the X-Men, her first mission on the X-Men team. Gotcha. So really, really cool stuff. And I wanted to point out that she encounters an alligator in one of the scenes. And yeah, it's really cool. She's like down in the sewer. There's this big gator, and just really, really cool. So I think that everybody should seek that out. Check out those preview pages and make sure you guys pre-order a copy, throw it on your pool or whatever, but it's looking really, really good, and I absolutely want to support Iman Vellani, like, in her career as a comic book writer. I hope that it takes off and it's really, really cool, because like I've said before, she is like the real deal. She's not, just some actress playing a character, like, getting a paycheck. She's so involved. She's doing things that you're not seeing other people in comic book roles doing. She goes to the comic book shop and picks up copies of Miss Marvel. Like, she actually has a pool at a local comic book shop. Like, nice. How many, actors, actresses, whatever can you say that about? Just, I really respect her a lot, and I think that's really cool. And now she's dipping into writing, and it's not a thing, it seems like something she's very passionate about. So I'm really stoked about that. My last little bit of news was, I think that we finally got an explanation for Donnie Cates' disappearance. So I don't know if you read this. I just read this today. It was actually on Bleeding Cool, which he was a writer for at some point. I don't know when. But obviously Donnie Cates, missing in action. He had to stop writing the Hulk book, and Ryan Stegman had to take over. Mm-hmm. And other projects and everything have been delayed and all of that. And nobody knew what was going on. Of course, we did know he was going through some kind of separation or divorce or whatever. So everyone was thinking maybe he was just taking some time off due to that. Right. Looks like he was in the backseat of a car, and that car got into an accident on the highway. Oh, wow. And he had his laptop open and basically split his head open and crushed his orbital bones and everything. I mean, yeah, some of the pictures that he posted are gnarly, so it looks like it affected his memory in some ways too. Like, he doesn't recall anything that happened the last 6 months. So yeah, not great news for Donnie Cates, and that sucks. And I feel really bad for the dude, but yeah, that kind of explains, his absence lately. So
Well, I mean, injuries aside, I'm glad he's okay and
yeah,
that
exactly.
he was able to post pictures
Yeah.
because it could have worked out the other way.
Yes, 100%. So always wear your seatbelt, kids, and you can't always control a truck slamming into the back of you on the highway, unfortunately. But I don't know. Do whatever you can to make that not happen. But who knows what that is?
Unfortunately, with the drivers we have this day and age, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agreed with you on that. Well, that's the end of the news. Bob, we are going to take a very quick break and we'll return to talk about some new books that came out this week. Hello, all new, all different nation. We are back with episode number 30 of the all new, all different number one comics podcast. Bob, let's hit them with some books that came out this week in local comic book shops. Again, you can always hit your local comic book shop up. And how it works is you can create a pull list there. You can give them your name and tell them to put you on a series, and they will pull it for you every week. But here are some of the new notable books, and I don't know, you might want to hit your local comic book shop up and ask them to throw these in your pool if you haven't already. So from Image Comics, we had Quest #1, as well as The Sacrificers #1. Both looking really, really cool. Over to Marvel Comics, we had Death of Venomverse #1, written by our great friend Colin Bunn,
Yes.
who we almost did a Colin Bunn book this week, but we didn't want to have to change the name of the podcast to the Colin Bunn Cast, so we're trying to keep the name, so we went in a different direction. Kept it Marvel, though. Make mine Marvel. We also had Astonishing Iceman #1. Bob, can I get your thoughts on Astonishing Iceman? I mean, of course, neither one of us have read it, but are you stoked about that? I can't think that last Iceman series. I don't know. I don't know if you liked it, if you cared, whatever. But
I can't say I'm the biggest fan of Iceman. I'll leave it at that.
yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I don't have any problem with him personally, but he's just kind of like a boring character to me.
He is.
I don't know. It seems like very, very old school, and he doesn't translate over to like modern times very well. I don't know.
Plus, I mean, DC has the market cornered on ice-powered characters.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I don't know. I can't even say interesting character, but yeah. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. Maybe it's a really cool series. We got My Beloved Scarlet Witch has issue #7 out this week, so absolutely pick that up. I know nothing about this particular issue, but I know that it's amazing because it's Scarlet Witch, so I picked that up.
He's not biased, folks.
Well, just a little bit. We got like a really cool crossover this week, or I don't know if you could call it crossover, but we got Strange Academy Miles Morales. It's a one-shot, introduces a new character in there. Always good to bet on Strange Academy and Miles Morales, so throw them together, and that's win-win in my opinion. And then you got a first appearance in there, and you've got a 1 in 25 incentive cover as well, so absolutely worth picking up. I know I did, so yeah, definitely check that one out. Bob, we got Star Wars Dark Droids. This one sounds really, really cool. I know we read the synopsis last week, and I don't know if you picked up your copy. I definitely picked mine up.
I did.
Yeah, I think mine was like a cool like movie poster variant or something. I really liked that cover.
Yeah, mine was too.
Yeah, really awesome. Yeah, it's I don't know, like a horror themed Star Wars story.
Yeah,
with
basically the synopsis that I've seen, or at least the explanations I've seen from different sites across the interweb, is that basically it's an ancient evil that even the Sith feared. It's like a technology based that takes over droids. It's actually got a tie into something that they highly explained in the newest volume of Dr. Aphra. They have a device there from an ancient peoples of evil who imitated the Sith without actually having force powers.
Is that like the Scourge or whatever it's called?
Yeah, it's called the Scourge, but it has to do with again, the Spark Eternal, which is basically the technology that these ancient people built to imitate the Sith without having the Force powers.
Okay. Yeah, cool stuff. Sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait to read that. And I'm not even like, I don't have all the Star Wars lore, but it sounds fun either way. We got a What If Dark, another What If Dark. Of course, we got the What If Dark Spider-Gwen one, or sorry, Gwen Stacy one. I thought that was cool. I haven't heard great reception for it, to tell you the truth, but I thought it was a cool story. I liked it a lot. But yeah, we've got a What If Dark Venom one shot, and we're supposed to witness the birth of a brand new Venom. And of course, the spoiler alert right there on the cover is that it's Ben Grinum. I don't know what you call it, but yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Looks super cool though. Everything's been a Venom. Everything's had a symbiote, so a symbiote. I don't know how we're supposed to say it, but yeah, I can't think of the last time we had like a thing Venom, so that's cool.
Yeah, and Ben Grimm with the Venom symbiote, that would be pretty OP.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that. We got X-Men 25. This one's interesting because they're calling it a key issue because Kitty Pryde is taking on a new persona, Shadowcat, but that's not a new persona.
With a K.
Yeah, but still, I mean, come on, Shadowcat's been out for years. Like, I don't know, probably.
Yes, but that was with the C.
Ah, come on, I can't with you people.
It's like adding an extra X in Extreme.
Okay, well, fair enough. Major X, get some Rob Liefeld in there, but yeah, okay.
Pockets, pouches.
The pouch, love it. Source Point Press had look. This finally came out, and the reason that I'm going to talk about this one is last night I talked to Austin McKinley, who worked on this book. Really cool creator, really cool guy, and in an upcoming episode he'll be on the show. But he had a book come out from Source Point Press called "Blaze Ya Dead Homie," and it's a one shot. And this is like. It's not my thing because it takes place in the universe of like Insane Clown Posse adjacent groups, and I'm not into that. But
see, from that title, I was expecting the Cheech and Chong verse.
Oh yeah, no, it's like Blaze is a guy, like a singer or something in that world, but. Looks always some cool visuals and stuff going on there. I mean, I just can't listen to that music, but yeah, I'm definitely picked that up, and again, the reason that I talk about it was it got delayed a couple of times by the publisher. So actually, Austin was unsure when it was going to drop, and I saw that it dropped today. So I definitely made a post on Instagram and tagged him that I picked it up and everything. But yeah, I wanted to talk about it. Make sure you guys check that out, especially if you're into that kind of thing. But even if you're not, like his art and everything, his colors, whatever he did on the book, really really cool stuff. So definitely check that out. The last book I want to talk about is from Titan Comics because they have started publishing Conan, and this book is called Conan Barbarian. Not Conan the Barbarian, not any of those other cool, I don't know, titles that you can come up with. Right. Just Conan Barbarian. And I don't know, how do you feel about this? Actually, it does say the Barbarian on the trade dress. What am I lying for? But yeah, this. I don't know, Bob. We've got Conan. It took him a while to get over to the Marvel Universe, and now he's out of the Marvel Universe and into the Titan Universe now. So
it will be interesting to see how he does differ from the Marvel Conan.
Yeah, I agree. That will be very interesting. This one's it's written by Jim Zub. The cover art's by Dan Panosian, who, as we know from what was that, a couple of episodes ago, is just fantastic. So, he was the writer on Alice Never After. Yeah, man, just fantastic. So I don't know, pick it up for the cover, I guess. But I don't know how the story is inside. We'll have to see. But yeah, very very cool cover, and just interesting that he's over to Titan Comics now. Mm-hmm. So that wraps up our new books that are coming out. Of course, there's some DC Night Terrors books. You can get the second issue of Batman, Poison Ivy, whatever you want. I don't really have much to say about those.
We know how you feel about Batman.
Yeah, I don't know. I hear the Joker one's good, but I'm not even gonna really look into it. So.
I have heard that's probably the best one. Yeah. But I mean, right now it's kind of like Do I want to buy how many different variations of Night Terrors?
Yeah. Is it even worth it is the question. Only because, it's almost like a Elseworlds, What If, like whatever. I mean, none of it sticks. Like, it doesn't affect anything, really. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. Either way, we'll be right back after this break. And we are back. Welcome to the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast, episode number 30. Yay, hooray. Insert clapping, cheering crowd here. Woo! Yeah, that was good. We were like in tune or something.
Yes, we were.
I like it. Bob, let's talk about this book. We've got Magneto #1 from Marvel Comics. Of course, like I said, we have this cool, fancy Howard the Duck cover that's got Howard the Duck and Professor X on the cover there. And Professor X looks very annoyed by Howard the Duck dressed up in Magneto cosplay. So.
As most people are annoyed by Howard the Duck.
Well, most people except for George Lucas is all I can say.
George Lucas would probably annoyed by Howard the Duck right now. He's probably tired of getting asked questions about Howard the Duck.
Either that, or maybe
What
Howard
happened?
the Duck is annoyed by him. Who knows? We'll find out.
Either way.
Yeah, either way. I'm going to read the synopsis from Marvel. Magneto was right. Magneto burst onto the scene as the most diabolical of evil mutants. But when Professor Xavier must leave the planet for life-saving treatment, Magneto inherits a new title, Teacher! With the new mutants under his tutelage. How will these young and powerful mutants learn to take orders from a supervillain? And one who's tried to kill them and their predecessors. There are two sides to every story, and JM Dematteis and Todd Nauck weave a tale that will show how Magneto was right from a certain point of view. In fact, one mutant known as Iray, in her first ever appearance, has taken Magneto's lesson to heart in a way that will upend even the master of magnetism's best strategies. Get ready for an all-new saga set during Magneto's tenure as headmaster of the New Mutants, and learn how the once diehard villain emerged as a conflicted figure in the saga of the X-Men. Man,
God, I'm glad you said that.
That was hard for me to read. I can't lie. I mean, I'm sure you could tell, but geez.
I could tell, especially getting towards the end, it was like you start slowing down.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I'm like, wait a second. How do I say all of these words that are not in my regular vocabulary?
Yeah, I will say they threw out some really big words for you to say all in that paragraph.
I would also like to point out what you guys didn't hear off air. I had to have Bob teach me what tutelage meant. I've never heard that word in my life, so you heard it first here, folks. Bob is a great English teacher.
My father was an English major.
Oh, well, there you go. So Bob is a great English teacher. If you need any English lessons, wow, like I do, hit Bob up. He's got you covered.
Ironically, he was also a communications major.
Wow. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, then definitely hit Bob up. Bob's second career options? I don't know. Maybe. Could be. Let's talk about these creators. We have JM Dematteis, who is short for John Mark Dematteis. He started his career as a rock and roll journalist, actually, before he got into comics. He moved into comics in the late 70s at DC with titles like House of Mystery and Weird War Tales, Aquaman, and others. And then he started writing at Marvel in 1980 on The Defenders and Captain America. He's written a lot of your favorite comics, actually, like Kraven's Last Hunt and the Clone Saga, Spectacular Spider-Man, Scooby Apocalypse, Justice League International, Justice League of America, Silver Surfer, Justice League Dark, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Really acclaimed big writer, and as we just noticed off air, he's almost 70 years old. He's been in the game for quite a bit, so he kind of knows what he's doing, I guess.
He's written some seminal works there.
Yeah, definitely. So nothing to, shake a stick at. Big creator. Let's talk about Todd Nauck. Todd Nauck? Okay, good. Glad. Yeah, look, in my head, I'm hearing Nauck or something. I don't know why there's an extra N there in my head, but there is. So, yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Wikipedia, for the breakdown and the pronunciation of names.
See, Wikipedia is good for something.
Absolutely. I love Wikipedia. I live my life on it. If anything's published on Wikipedia, it's the Bible for me, so I take it.
You might be reading the wrong Bible most of the time.
That's all right. it's mine. So whatever happens. Todd Nauck started at Marvel in the early 90s, and notably on What the number 21 in September of 1992 on the back cover. That's where Todd started his career.
Huh.
Then he moved over to Image with Rob Liefeld's Extreme Studios on Wild Guard, if you remember that series.
Vaguely.
Yeah, that was his creation. He moved back over to Marvel, did Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, as well as Young Justice over at DC, and he's done 1.5 million headshot covers lately at Marvel. If you remember all those headshot variants that were coming out, those were all him. He did every single one of those. So
nice.
Yeah, very, very, I don't know, big creators on this book. Prolific, I think was the word that I was going to say, but big creators there. So I'm going to get into my synopsis of the book. Magneto #1 opens with the New Mutants battling hologram versions of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that Magneto has set up for them in training as he's taken over as headmaster in place of Xavier. He then unleashes the Sentinels on them. He's seen walking the halls, pondering his past when he runs into Rain, who is up reading late at night because she can't sleep. She's reading Xavier's depiction of the coming of Magneto, and Rain is confused how Magneto has changed so much, and when she talks to him about it, it makes him very, very upset. Next up, we see a complete retelling of his origin in X-Men #1. So if you want to jump back in time and get your hands on a copy of X-Men 1, but you don't want to go through all the trouble of learning about the characters and you only want to do the Magneto story, well then here you go. It's all in here with some really cool looking art. Nice throwback. It looks like a lot of fun. I don't know. And he explains why becoming a villain. Why he became a villain, which was to show the humans that mutants would come to their defense. So basically, mutants were outcast and they needed some kind of bad guy so that way the good guys could rise up and save the day. So that's how he took on that role and that's how he became evil. It was like a role he was playing. The next day, he holds a holiday party for the school, but when he enters the building, he sees the students were attacked when a super-powered female attacks him. He believes it's their first meeting, but she says she's dreamed of this encounter since the day they first met. She overpowers him and assures him that he won't forget this meeting. She takes him away as all the New Mutants watch out the windows, and Magneto wakes up locked in on a throne, and when the newly announced Irene, the Queen of Wrath, and the Sisterhood of Evil Mutants call him Lord Magneto and chant his name, that wraps up the book. So, a lot going on here. A lot is packed into this book. Let's talk about it, Bob. How about these story beats? Man, there are beats in this story.
There are, yes.
I kind of like it, though. Look, I'm going to sound like a broken record, I always do. But the first read, I was like, this is too dialogue heavy, and I can't get into it, and I can't tell what's happening. Always glad I do those second reads. I strongly suggest, if nothing else, if you don't love a comic the first time you read it, don't just put it down and file it away. Maybe try a second read, because, you hear from me almost every week. I'm not always sold the first time, and then by the second, I understand. I have a way better understanding of what's going on, especially on these really dialogue-heavy books. I'm making myself sound really intelligent that I can't read words, and I have to read everything a second time, but that's just how my brain works. So maybe yours does too. Who knows? Hopefully not. Hopefully no one out there is as dumb as me.
Not everybody has a linear brain.
Sure.
I guess you would say.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. But yeah, these story beats, like it kind of goes, it's a nice story, but it definitely starts off showing, what Magneto's doing there as headmaster of the school or whatever his role is and working with the New Mutants there.
And I guess I should have expected an X-Men #1 book, a fight, for it not to be a real fight. I guess I should have expected that.
Did you think it was at first?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did,
gotcha.
yes.
Yeah, well, I was really hoping that we wouldn't just open this book and then see fight after, I'm the same way. I was like, wow, how long is this going to go on? I was really happy when we got the break from it, when the Sentinels came up, and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't happening. Yeah, so understood. But yeah, of course, X-Men, very famous for always having those cool hologram practice fights. So that Xavier and everybody's throwing at them. So yeah, it starts off with that story beat, then goes into Magneto and what he's got going on at the nighttime there, where he's pondering stuff and everything, and then we get his evil origins, why he became evil, and why maybe it was just a role for him, and maybe it was just to help.
Yeah, I gotta say that kind of surprised me that it turned out that the reason he became evil was just to be a catalyst.
Yes.
To show that mutants are actually good people.
Yes.
So he became a villain just to get stopped.
Yeah, I like that. And I've read a lot of X-Men, and I can't recall off the top of my head if that's ever been discussed before.
I can't either.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we've ever
I don't think
dove
it has
into
either.
that. I like this. I like that if that's what they're doing with this book, if they're going and kind of rewriting Magneto's origin, or maybe not rewriting, but adding to it or whatever, I really like that. I hate sometimes how these miniseries come out and they're just so low stakes, and they're just like a little dip in that character for 4 or 5 issues, and it doesn't really matter much. If this is what's going on, then I'm really looking forward to this, and I would hope by the creative team that they've got on this that it's not just a really low stakes, nothing burger of a story. So
no, I wouldn't think so, especially by JM Dematteis, considering what he has written and how high stakes some of the stuff he's written is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really hoping not. And look, this has some of my favorite characters in it. I love the New Mutants. They're my favorite team. I'm really excited that they're here in it. But yeah, these story beats, I love it. I love how it's going from the holographic practice there to him kind of talking to Rain and talking about his past, and then really going into that first encounter with the X-Men, and then where it ends up and everything with the holiday party, and then Irate taking him away and everything.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the beats, do what they should. Go from A to B to C to D. I mean,
yeah, and
you really don't get any flashbacks to interrupt. And,
sure.
Well,
I mean, you get a big flashback, but it's good. It's not just a flashback. It adds to that story.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's really cool. It's not stale at all. I'm really liking it, and I like where this ends up too. It ends on a good spot. This is really well written, which I guess we should expect for somebody who's been in the game this long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really impressed with the story beats here and the way that it goes.
To me, I don't know how you feel, but to me, it's like reading a '90s X-Men book.
Yeah, definitely. Which I pointed out to you off air. I was scared about the amount of dialogue here. Yeah. It was a slog to get through that first fight, and then once I got past it and kind of saw what was really going on, I got excited there. So yeah, really kind of turned around for me, which was really cool and something that I was hoping for. Let's talk about the narrative then. We have a lot of different characters here. We have a lot of narrative. Most of it takes place in dialogue, so we'll definitely talk about the dialogue a little bit more than the narrative, but the narrative of the story, of course, being what we just kind of went through, the beats there, that it begins right there in the New Mutants practice, and then it goes to Magneto, becoming upset about the way that he's been depicted as an evil villain and everything, and how he feels like, he had to take up that role, and he did it for good reasons, and then him being captured. So the narrative, everybody's voice in here and everything, just
right.
I feel like it's being nailed. Everybody,
and then you have the narrative of Magneto's inner turmoil with all the ghosts of his family and his former self.
Yes. Yeah, very true. So yeah, narrative A+ here.
Yep.
The dialogue, again, a huge amount of dialogue. I'm gonna struggle with this because I don't love this amount of dialogue. I feel like it should be told, in the story, not in the dialogue, but it feels warranted here. Like everything feels like it matters.
Yeah, and I can definitely see those characters saying what the dialogue is. I could see Magneto, especially in the very beginning, when they're in the danger room having that, just smart almost smug kind of attitude. I
Yes.
could see Magneto doing that.
Yeah, it all makes sense here. It all works really well. So, and everybody's got a voice, and it works. You got Warlock's voice, working very well there. You have Magick, of course, Rain. It's working very, very well. Even the Scarlet Witch stuff, really cool. I love when Iray is introduced and her dialogue and everything. It really kind of individualizes that character. And of course, Magneto going back and forth and retelling his origin and poking in and saying why he did everything. That dialogue works really, really well. So then the world building, this takes place pretty much just in one location, but the world being the Xavier Institute is already fleshed out so well for us. Coming from somebody who has read a lot of X-Men, a lot of New Mutants. I love all the, even the X-Men movies and everything. So this world's already really, really lived in for me. I don't need any more fleshing out. Maybe if you're new to X titles, I could see, maybe that's not working as well for you. You don't really get a mention of the Danger Room. You don't, some things are a little left out, sure, for a new reader, but...
Or if you don't know about the whole Asteroid M.
Yes, true.
In the X-Men universe, you might be confused by that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I could see where if you're a brand new reader to any X title, this could be a little confusing.
But if you're a veteran of X titles,
this is
you
so
know exactly where they are.
And I don't think that's a detriment to your experience with the comic at all. If you go into this as your first X title and you read it, you're still going to find so much to enjoy here that's going to outweigh, what you don't understand. So I it's pretty much implied anyway. So I believe you're okay on that end. Let's talk about the art then. Let's talk about Todd Nauck. We also had, I want to mention right up top before I forget to go into it, I believe Rachelle Rosenberg is the colors on this book, which Rachelle Rosenberg, a huge creator also. Rachel's not new to the game at all. I believe it's her. I'm going to just open to that page really quick. Yes, Rachelle Rosenberg, or Rachelle, I don't know. Yeah, Rachelle Rosenberg, sorry. Let me correct that, right? Is it Rachelle? Okay, good. She's on colors here, and of course we'll get back to that whenever we talk about colors. But how about the characters, Bob? How do you feel like Todd did with these characters? How do you feel about his take? Of course, me talking before about all those headshot covers, I believe we've seen each one of these characters already, depicted by Todd, and I'm sure we have throughout time anyways. I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't love Todd's work. I like it. It's good. It's a little too cartoony for me in some places, and I don't think that it always fits the tone of the book. I love whenever we flash to the Silver Age stuff. I think that that's nailed perfectly.
Oh yeah, especially the whole modern era, and then it flips back to X-Men #1 from 1960. I mean, this has almost a 1963 quality with the use of, well, not pointillism, but I mean the dots.
Yep. Yeah, and definitely, I think whenever we flash over to that, he really nails that. And Todd's a very good artist. You can tell, throughout the book that he really knows what he's doing, and he's very good. But again, it's not particularly what I like in art. I think that I want a tiny bit more realism, a little bit less cartooniness or something.
Do you think it's too house?
I don't even know that house is the problem that I have with it. I mean, there's certain things that really work here. I mean, Magneto's face and everything works well. It works. It's just, I feel like sometimes it doesn't quite capture the tone of the book. I'm looking at a way darker tone than what I'm seeing on page. And I just don't feel like it's reflective. I have the same problem with those headshot variants that Todd does. I think that they look like, Saturday morning cartoons more than like a Marvel comic sometimes. And that's not a critique of his art. I feel like he's a very good artist, and he does everything right. This is just his style, and it's just not particularly for me. But it is good art, and I could see a lot of people appreciating it.
I gotta say, and I have it open to a panel where he's surrounded by the ghosts of his family and his younger self. And I gotta say, as far as ghosts in comics go, Those are actually some of the best ones I've seen.
Yeah, the ghosts are looking great. I agree with you there. They look great. I don't know. I'm conflicted on this character art here. I don't know exactly. It's definitely not a miss.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a win. It's just not exactly what I like. So, we're here to critique it, so that's what I'm doing. I don't know exactly how to pinpoint it, but it's just, something about it. I want maybe a little tiny bit more grittiness and realism in some of it.
Mm.
How about the locations? Again, we're just taking place really at the Xavier Institute here. There's some outside panels, but
right, we get a few at the markets where Magneto's shopping for the Christmas party.
Yep. And then of course that first battle of that flashes back to X-Men 1. Has I don't know outdoors wherever they were. I can't remember the exact location of where that took place, but. But yeah, there's some different stuff going on in the paneling there. But yeah, we're definitely just mostly in the Xavier Institute. We're a little bit outside. Yeah, like you mentioned, that panel we're outside, I don't know, in the snow or whatever. That one's looking really cool. But yeah, I think the locations here work well. I think that the locations and the backgrounds are working very well.
Yep.
Everything looks good. I don't know really what else to say about the backgrounds. It definitely encompasses what Bob and I both like, where they're fleshed out, detailed backgrounds, and it's not white or solid colors or anything. And the action shots don't even overtake all the panels. Sometimes there's a lot of action in a panel, but you still have backgrounds and everything. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm really cool with this aspect of the art. So, lastly, what about the colors? Rachelle Rosenberg on colors there, like we said. I think the colors really fit the tone, in my opinion. Yeah, the coloring's done really, really nice here. It's complimentary of Todd's work, actually, which I think, is kind of like a fine line that you would have to walk, at least in my opinion, with dealing with Todd's work. It does make it a little more realistic to me and a little less cartoony in the coloring. So I like how that is. I like the color palette that Rochelle's using and the tones and everything. Don't know if you have any separate thoughts you want to express, but
I don't. I think like you. I mean, the colors pop.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it open to a panel. With the Rain.
Yeah, Rain and Magneto there.
You can see the emerald green in her eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, the red of her hair, and then you also get to the flashback to X-Men #1, and I mean it's just got that Silver Age kind of coloring.
Yep.
Where it's not totally vibrant, but it's vibrant enough.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that the palette's like a little muted, but not definitely not in a bad way, but it's muted like in a way that I feel like really fits the tone of the book.
Right.
And yeah, it just looks really nice. I think that she's really kind of bringing her A game to this. She's always wonderful at whatever she does. Really awesome creator. But yeah, I'm really liking the palette she's using. I think that that's going to stand out the most for me. It really fits the artwork, really fits the tone of the book, and then really kind of grounds the artwork for me. And the stuff that I don't like in the artwork is not because of the coloring at all. It's more the illustration. But yeah. So, Bob, the most important question that we ask every single week, is this enough to move you? Is this enough to make you call your local comic book shop, add it to your pull list? Are you going to check out issue #2?
I think I'm going to check out issue 2 just again, just like the Donnie Cates Ghostwriter.
Yep.
It's like reading a 90s X-Men.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that the story, the writing here is really good, and it does what a comic book is supposed to do. It introduces that character in the third act and makes me want to know more about them. I want to know who the Sisterhood of Evil Mutants are. I want to know who Ray is. I want to know what's going on here. And I want to see more of this creative team. I definitely want to see more of his writing here, more of Rochelle's coloring. I'm like I said, I'm fine with the art. I needed to critique it, so that was my critique on it. But yeah, I want to see what happens next here. So I'm definitely, absolutely, 100% going to be moving on to issue #2. I guess worst case scenario, if issue number 2 flops for me, maybe I won't continue on to issue number 3. But right now, the future is looking very, very bright for this volume of Magneto for me and Bob.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I don't know exactly how many issues it is.
I'm thinking it's a 5-part mini, but I don't know why I
I
think
was
that.
gonna say, just judging on the little bit of Magneto,
Hmm.
I've read. I know I've read Magneto Testament,
Yep.
and that
Yeah.
was only what 5, 6 issues. I mean, that
Yeah.
wasn't too long. So I mean, I think Magneto is one of those characters where they'll bring out volumes of
Hmm.
it, but I mean, it's not going to be
Yeah, I
like
mean,
a
you're not going to
long
get an
teaching.
ongoing
No,
Magneto. Like, I
no.
can't, I don't see any room for that, really.
I mean, if you had the regular X Men title, I mean, he's just so significant in the X Men
Exactly. And we
universe.
have so many X titles. Like, why would we
Right,
bring this? It's like whenever you do a specific character study on one of them, it's always going to be a mini. I mean, you're not even
right.
seeing like a Rogue and Gambit ongoing. Those are minis. The Jean Greys are minis. All the way back to the Gambit solo stuff. Everything other than Wolverine, basically, and the X titles are minis for the most part. So, yeah, that's a definite win for me and Bob. A very, very bright corner of the Marvel comic book universe that we want to revisit. And like I said, you can go right now to your local comic book shop, hopefully pick up this cool Howard the Duck variant. It's got Howard the Duck and Magneto cosplay. When are you ever going to see that again? So definitely pick that up. I should have credited the cover artist for that one, but yeah, really, really cool nonetheless. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the all new, all different number one comics podcast. This is episode number 30. We are on the line with a very, very awesome creator, one that I had just been introduced to his comics, but am really, really loving, especially this newest one that just came out. That I have to admit, before I get into your name and introduce you and everything, I had just, I want to say the day this comic came out, I can't remember if it was last Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays ago, but
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, I think. But yeah, I remember going on TikTok right after I read this, posting an image of like I don't know, like a cool panel that I saw, and I was like, "You have to read this comic. It's so amazing. It's so creepy. It just has like the best vibes." And that's probably like I want to say that that is my most viewed TikTok that I have on TikTok right now. Everybody's just like, "What is this? Who is this
Oh, that's
from?" This
awesome.
looks amazing. So
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
somebody I'm really, really excited to have on the show here, ladies and gentlemen. We have Keith Foster. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for coming on.
yeah,
Really
Jen.
greatly appreciated.
Yeah, man. Dude, thank you for having me. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate the kind words about animals, and I appreciate being here, man. I mean, I listen to the podcast. I know you know your stuff, and in case I had any doubt, there's this really sweet wall o comics behind you that's got some really delicious eye candy there. So yeah, lovely stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I try to flex a little bit behind me, not
Yeah,
anything too crazy, but yeah, yeah. There's definitely a little bit of stuff up there. You have some cool stuff on your walls as well that I definitely want to get into in a little bit.
sure
But
thing.
yeah, again, really appreciate you coming on, man. I look, this conversation is going to be all over the place because I want to talk about music, I want to talk about animals, I want to talk about Invader.
Yeah.
But to start us off, here's probably an oddball question for you.
Hmm.
Mattel is super big right now. The Barbie movie is the hugest thing in the whole world right this second,
Yeah.
and there's lots of other Mattel franchises that are gearing up to become the next MCU.
Hmm.
I gotta know, what was your favorite Mattel toy growing up? Like, did you have any Mattel? I don't know. Properties that you were big in playing with? Was there anything out there? I'm thinking, we had Hot Wheels, we had, I don't know, it's hard to even list off. I should definitely have a list in front of me to ask this question to somebody, but
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That like, look, I can tell you the toys I played with growing up, and in fact, I may even play with some of them now, like full disclosure. But I don't know like what brand was what, right? So,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, Hot Wheels for sure. So, I know that one's Mattel. But
yeah,
the things that I really cut my teeth on in terms of toys, I mean, the ones I remember, well, Star Wars toys, That's a huge one. Let's see, Transformers was Hasbro, if I remember right.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Transformers. And then as I go younger, I remember, again, I don't think these are Mattel, but I was really big into the Micronauts.
Yes.
That,
Man, Micronauts were my jam. Those were so awesome. I really love
yeah,
Micronauts a lot.
yeah. I remember the magnetic Baron Karza, where it was
Yeah,
amazing because you could put the head and the arms on, and oh yeah, it was just super cool with like the magnetic ball joints where the legs, arms, and head connected to the torso.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, look, just going over it, there's you got Matchbox, you got of course Hot Wheels, like I said. Uh, Uno is by Mattel,
Oh, God, I've played so much.
which I'm really looking forward to an Uno movie. That's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe it'll be like the Tetris movie a little bit. But yeah, they had American Girl. They had Masters of the Universe was actually made by Mattel. So, or at least they produced some of those toys. So yeah, probably not a lot there to choose from. Some Polly Pocket, Fisher Price stuff, I guess. But
Yeah.
maybe
Back
not
in the
for
day,
you and I. But
yeah, back in the day, I had a few He-Man figures,
mm-hmm.
but that has not lasted through my adulthood. I don't own a single He-Man figure right now.
Okay.
I own plenty of other crap. Like I got a Boba Fett right here within arm's reach.
Oh man.
So yeah, and Godzilla stuff, but Godzilla stuff's not any American toy maker. At least wasn't back then.
I found just recently, I was at, I don't know, some kind of secondhand store, and there was this really, I wish I had it to show to you right now, but there was this really great, like, packaged Godzilla. It came with, like, a little tiny figurine, a little mini comic book, and a cassette tape, like, all together. It had this amazing, like, red background, and then just Godzilla, like, destroying a city, and just one of the coolest things. I had to pick it up. I have no idea what it is or who produced it or what year it came out, but just one of the coolest things. I think I grabbed it for like $1.50 or something.
Oh,
So
that sounds cool as hell.
yeah, still packaged and everything. So really cool. How about I definitely want to ask this. Don't know if it's affecting you very much or not. It's a little topical. How's the writer's strike going for you? Is that affecting any of your work at all? If it is, how so? I know you're out there pretty close to the action, so
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not affecting me directly as a writer. It because I'm not, like I mean, I'm currently pitching a novel to agents to get published as a book.
cool.
And but none of my comics are media properties or anything like that. So I don't do any writing for any of those industries. It does affect me kind of two ways, sort of on the side. One is, it's really through Invader Comics, and so Invader Comics. We have some creators on Invader. One is Josh Rubin, who just the filmmaker who and actor who did a book with us called Darla. I actually did an in-store with him a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about it. So it's impacting him greatly, and sort of dribs and drabs its way down into what we're doing, because he, if I remember right, he has a movie that's supposed to start filming, but if there's a writer's strike and there's all these strikes, then it's not going to happen. And that's really going to mess him up, because people, you actors commit to one thing and then they commit to the next thing. So if you get delayed in your movie, you're going to probably have to move to the end of the line and figure out when you can get all your actors and everybody again. But it does affect Invader a little bit, because we have people that pitch our properties to Hollywood, and those people cannot pitch to anything right now. So yeah, we have a lot of properties out there that I know are in conversation, but no conversations can happen until the writers and the actors and everybody comes back. So yeah, an indirect effect for sure, but no direct effects on making the comics. Just some of the ancillary stuff that ties into it.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. I just kind of got into it a little bit more pretty recently, the last couple of days, just because it's so topical. It's going on right now. You're involved in writing, so whether that translates to Hollywood or not right this second, it still is pretty close to your heart, at least.
Absolutely.
And then somebody like me, I'm not very involved, but I do. I'm big on these. Reading a lot of things that were written by creative people, comic creators and all of that, film, of course, and television as well. it's so interesting to hear the, some of the negotiations take place, or try to take place. Some of the stuff that the, union's asking for, and then what the studio's coming back with. I had just heard pretty recently, I believe today, earlier this morning or something, I was reading that, there's obviously a big deal with AI and making sure that creators and actors and all of those people, their likeness, whatever doesn't get used, their voice and stuff like that. And the studios are coming back with a hard no, a hard line in the sand. No, like, we have to be able to use your likeness. We have to be able to do this to, uh, I mean, of course, it probably makes it easier for the studio, but at the same time, it makes it easier for them to not pay those creators, to not pay those actors and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a big mess right now. So no
Yeah,
matter.
the AI stuff is crazy. I
Yeah.
think like I could say we could have 3 episodes just on AI alone, and
Hmm.
it's weird, right? Like there's something. I mean, push aside all the stuff about AI that like it's uncanny and all. It is.
Hmm.
I was surprised when I saw that too. That there's this absolute hard no
Yep.
from the powers that be right now. That like no. If you act once as a background extra, then and I actually have a friend or two that does like commercial work,
Hmm.
some background work, stuff like that, and that would almost eliminate what they do or a component of their income, because once they got you once as a background extra on a show or something like that, they could just use you forever.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that is so weird to me, So yeah, all that stuff is strange, taking aside all of the AI discussions themselves, which
Hmm.
are interesting. Yeah, the fact that this is I was very surprised, I think, like you, to find out that this is sort of a seems like one of the harder lines drawn in negotiations, so
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, hopefully that gets nixed, like the human element is so important. I do have some strong opinions on AI. I basically just think all it can ever do is be a perfect synthesis of what came before it,
Yep.
and not add one note more to the conversation. So why wouldn't we want to have a bunch of voices and a bunch of people adding fresh new notes and fresh new takes to the overall like symphony of art that's out there?
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna. You're not going to be innovative in any type of way. You're not going to break any new ground. It's just going to continue to create what's been fed into it, and that's really it. So yeah, very interesting right now. Of course, on episodes, closer to the beginning of Secret Invasion, I was asking everybody, what they thought about the AI generated art in the beginning credits of Secret Invasion, which, as you can imagine, got a pretty, well, I hate it, type of
Yeah.
response, and I completely agree. But yeah, I wonder how much more of that kind of thing we will see, especially coming up in comics. I really hope not. I think that uh, comics are so personal to the person that creates them, to that, those creators. and
Mhm.
and that's something I want to talk about here with animals and everything, to transition over to that. That's such a, I have the hindsight of reading the book with you writing it, with Ed
Mhm.
illustrating it. So I know how that turns out. But I think it's such a perfect combination, the tone that you're writing in, and then you got Ed on this book, and the way that he's illustrated it. And I just can't imagine anybody else illustrating this thing. I really want to ask how, you hooked up with Ed, how that came about, where he came from, because by all of my research and everything, I'm not seeing much of Ed on the internet, so it doesn't
Mhm.
looks like maybe this is really his first comic related project.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can sort of tell I think a nice arc here.
Yeah, please.
I will spoil the ending a little bit by letting you know that Ed has in fact moved on back into fine art. So Animals number
Okay.
2 had a delay in production, and it's
Mhm.
going to come out probably the first quarter next year sometime with a different artist that will still hopefully evoke a lot of the mood of Ed. But Ed
Mhm.
absolutely nails it in this
Yeah.
first issue. So I found out about Ed through the submissions inbox for what is now Invader Comics, but used to be 215 Inc. So we are an open submission kind of company,
Mhm.
so people out there can just submit what they have. Obviously, the better it is and the more ready to be published as an entire thing, the better your chances are. But we
Yep.
get submissions from writers, we get submissions from artists, etc. And in my case, I do have a little bit of the fortune of being, one of the principals of Invaders. So if we see artists we like, I'll just sort of put it into a folder off on the side and be like, hey, maybe we can do something with this person later. So when we got Ed's stuff, yeah, I loved how he combined like this expressive, digital painting thing, a la Bill Sienkiewicz, who's pretty much my favorite artist of all time,
Yeah.
and then does like a very, like I had a comic here handy, and the people don't need to see it because they see it in the comic, but like just this raw, scribbly, hand drawn thing
Yep.
in black and white on top of the stark art that's meant to be very like expressionistic, so, or I don't even know if that's a word, but damn it, I just made it.
It is now.
It is. I put it into the lexicon, and Webster's will agree because they add words every year. So there you go, people. Take it and run with it, and maybe we'll get ourselves in the dictionary one.
Might be word of the year. I like it.
So yeah, but when I saw his art, I was like, I actually didn't have a use for him at the time. And and I was just like, nope, put it in the folder and then maybe someday. But his art kept on churning in my head. And I think this submission first came in right around when COVID started in mid 2020, early 2020. And I had been hatching my own, it was deep enough in to where some stories were starting to come out that were COVID stories.
Yep.
And then I was like, I just, some of my comics start this way, some of my ideas, I'm like, I don't know if I'd write a COVID story, but what would it look like if I did? And I arrived at what about, and I remember this, the very simple fact now that like dogs can't get COVID, like, but they can transmit it because you could theoretically pet your dog, someone else could pet your dog, and then COVID could spread. We all know it's spread airborne now, sort of history, which is a great thing. But I was like, okay, well, what about infectious diseases that infect only animals? And that was the birth of Animals. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, this could be a really nasty comic. And I was like, and if it's a nasty comic, there's this guy who's sitting in my inbox right now. That would be a great fit. And the rest is history. The rest just became emails, willingness to work, and then a script, and then pages, and then dialogue, and then before you know it, we had ourselves a comic.
Yeah, look again. I can't express enough how I think that you guys just work so well together. I think the tones match so wonderfully. I mean, I can't lie. I'm sad to hear that he's not coming back for 2, but I do think, given the tone that you write here and everything, and of course that you hand selected him to illustrate that you're gonna find somebody, that's just as good or brings a unique vision to the story. So I'm really looking forward to that next issue, which you said, hopefully will drop early next year. Look, the Bill Sienkiewicz of it all, I thought the same thing. I was like, man, I'm getting some tones of Bill here, but not enough to where it's like, I feel like, Ed is just, replicating Bill Sienkiewicz's style or anything like that. Even with the bear, the first thing I see is this, giant bear, and I'm like, man, it's Demon Bear, but it's like his own vision on the Demon Bear. It's not, it's not one for one, like at all. This bear is horrifying in its own way. It's wonderful, and it's a great addition to this book. Whenever you first start out and you have the other animals, and we don't know that bear is going to come in, and then you get to the the page wherever the bear starts. It's wonderful to see the bear there, and again, for me, somebody who is obsessed with New Mutants. That's some of my favorite stuff. Bill Sienkiewicz's art on that, and then Dazzler, just some of the best stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, when I saw his bear there, I was like, I love this because it's not the Demon Bear, but it's giving me vibes, and I really just love it a lot. So
yeah, no, I appreciated it, and to your point, when I first saw that too, it was particularly the I know the one you're talking about, right? Because the bear makes the appearance, but it's that, for me, that page right there, is the one where I was like, holy crap, I love this page, and that's artistic collaboration at its best, right? Like you give a script and you may have a picture of what it looks like, and then you get the art back and you're just like, this is better than anything I could have imagined.
Exactly. Yeah. I imagine whatever you had in your head, you were like, whoa.
Explodes whatever I had in my way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, very, very cool. I'm also, for people who haven't read the book yet, number one, what the hell are you waiting for? Go out and find a copy. I did just look on the Invader site.
Mhm.
the other day, and there's still some copies available, but I'm talking like very, very limited. So by
Mhm.
the time this publishes, and our listeners that don't have a copy, like those will be gone. So let me not even throw that out there. But yeah, if you haven't read this yet, if you haven't seen like any preview of it or anything, it's very non-traditional. It's not broken up into like panels per se.
Mhm.
It's I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what that term is, but I mean, sometimes you have full page spreads. Sometimes you have art going into other things.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have dialogue and word balloons like stemming out of different areas. It's so non-linear
Mhm.
in the way that it's presented, not the way that the story is told, but the way that it's presented in the book here. Just wonderful visual aspects to this, and then again with the tone and the storytelling, they just complement each other so well. Just a really wonderful book for anybody who hasn't checked it out yet. I definitely, like I said, the second this comes out, whatever's left on your website will absolutely be gone. So
Yeah, no, well, that's yeah. Hey, so there you go, people. You
yeah,
may get lucky, and if you do, then there's a couple copies there. They're out for you, hopefully. But yeah, I
exactly.
mean, for me, animals is. I mean, I appreciate all the kind words, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But animals is the third comic that I've written,
Yep.
and what I liked about it is that I did you get to a certain point where you do want to take some chances, and
Mhm.
the first comic that I ever wrote is up to, I guess we're about to kickstart what amounts to the 16th, no, 17th issue of it. It's a
Mhm.
giant monster comic called Kadoja,
Yep.
and it's going to go 18 issues and then pretty much be done.
Okay.
Maybe we come back to that universe, but it's meant to be this mega arc, 4 volumes that add up to something even bigger. And then I also just, about a year ago, I published issue number 1 through Invader of Three Protectors, which is Kung Fu in Space.
Hmm.
But you get to the point in your creative journey where you want to try some different stuff, and I swear by both of those books. Obviously, they're all like kids. You don't pick a favorite kid, but this is definitely the book where I took a chance.
Yep.
And what's nice is it's led to me wanting to take more chances in my creative work. I actually have a fourth comic early in the pipeline that who knows when it'll come out, but I've been messing with the idea so much, and I love it because Animals 2, the script is written. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of getting that. So in my brain, Animals is done. It's just a matter of having the art to complement what the story and the words are. But now I'm writing forward, and yeah, so that one is a comic where I take chances too. And so I mean, I appreciate all the nice words about it being different and non-traditional and all those things, because I feel like I want to play with craft
Mhm.
on my spin around this world, and you start traditionally. I think it's a safe place to start, and then once you get comfortable with that and you feel like you've done all you can with the traditions, then you start to see what else you can do that not only hopefully interests you but interests other people.
Yeah, and look, that's some really great advice and words of encouragement. Whether you meant for it to be or not. A lot of our listener base are aspiring comic book creators, as I'm sure. Well, let me point out here. And of course, we'll go over this towards the end of our discussion together and everything. But uh, Keith does a podcast
Mhm.
called Making Comics,
Yeah,
and it is about making comics. And
yeah, yeah.
so
Truth in advertising.
yes, you are going to hear way more there on his podcast that has so many episodes out where they just really kind of go through and break down the process, that creative process, and I mean it just really gets down in the weeds. Like you're in there, you get to hear every aspect of what you're doing, and there's entire episodes devoted to things like copyright, like the one that we were just talking about before we went on the air. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and you guys really go step by step, through everything that you're going through creating these comics, and just such a cool, really cool idea for a podcast, and a really good podcast, really well spoken. You and your co-host just, you guys riff back and forth and explained very well, and I really enjoy that podcast a lot. So I will say, right here off the top, go listen to that podcast if you want to understand anything about making comics or want any advice or anything like that. Everything is right there.
Mhm.
Absolutely, all of y'all's experience and a lot more than you're gonna be able to get from this short conversation here. But like I said, a lot of our listeners are aspiring creators. Whether that be artists, letterers, colors, whatever. For a book like this, for something, as I said, it's as you said, you're taking chances. It's something different that you wanted to do. Uh, and then you said right up top, you think that, probably the best approach is to go with that traditional, I don't know, storytelling tradition, and then branch off from there. Kind of nail down, the basics, and then build from there. I just think that's some wonderful advice. I really appreciate that. That's something very uniquely said by you. We've had, a good amount of creators on the podcast, and we always ask those kinds of questions, and everybody always gives great advice, not to downplay anything that anybody says at all, but there's a certain amount of charm to what you're saying there. You do need those building blocks. You need to be able to tell that story in a traditional way or whatever, and then take some chances, branch off, do something different. Don't stay in that box, and everything. So yeah, just some great advice. And again, I just love to plug your podcast, Making Comics. It's very, very good, and a wonderful tool for our audience out there to check out. So yeah, I really hope that all of you guys go check that out, and that will be in the show notes here, links to that and all of your other work as well. We talked about Ed, and you talked about how he is moving back to fine art. Now, do you have any idea at all, like, what you want to do with this next artist? Because I imagine myself, you have like two different ways to go here. You either go for a huge stylistic change, or you go with somebody who does something similar but has their own interpretation. Like, do you have any thoughts yet, or is it just gonna, whatever lands in your lap is what you're gonna work with?
No. I mean, I think boy, you ask really good questions. You're dialed,
Well, thank you.
which I appreciate. So props to you for asking good questions. I'm going to answer it indirectly because that's just how I answer questions a lot of the time. So the artist on the main cover for Animals #1 is a gentleman by the name of Carlo Romero. I love Carlo's work.
Amazing.
Carlo, yeah, thank you. Carlo actually did a backup story that was intended to go in issue 1, but the thing was, I just wanted Carlo to work at his own pace, right? Yeah. And so he delivered a backup story for Animals #1. What'll probably happen is it'll end up being, I released it through or actually I'm about to finish releasing it through my newsletter. So I have it there, but at some point it's going to see the light of day, most likely in a collected Animals volume when we have issues 1 and 2 and a couple backup stories. So Carlo has a really dope, like, raw comic book style. Carlo is an option, but as of right now, the answer is the second one. Someone who is stylistically similar, but and doesn't diverge that much. And I think, without giving too much away, I think this might work out very well. I'm optimistic that it'll work out very well, because the second issue is a little, if not a lot, more action heavy than this first one. And so I would worry a little bit that too much, like, raw expressionism might make the action a bit muddy. So yeah, that it's definitely the second one. It's someone who is stylistically close, and it's, for me, the number one thing I want to check the box for is mood. Because this is it's designed to be a moody comic, an atmospheric comic, a creepy comic, a dark comic, and have all those things kind of stirred in. And so mood is the top priority, and then we'll go with everything else after that. So yeah, I have an artist in mind. In fact, I'm probably going to send him a note very soon. I've been waiting, because I'm waiting to get the script notes back from the editor on Animals 2, but I can look for the artist in parallel. And again, I have a decent relationship with them, so I do have a couple options, but the first one definitely leans toward mood.
Very cool. Yeah. Look, how you're talking about how, the story builds and how important it is, and the way that you're telling it. You kind of gave me, like, I don't want to say Jaws vibes, but, like, it. You said that the next issue is, like, pretty action heavy. Like, you're doing a lot of world building in this issue. We're spending a lot of time with these, human characters, and kind of hearing that backstory of what's going on and everything. And then, to hear that that just kind of opens up, and it's very action heavy. Of course, I have no intel to know what's going to happen next, but just what I can imagine here. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that there's going to be some really cool things. Like I said, you've really set up a world here. It feels very, very lived in. Yeah, I think that the writing on this is just superb. It's really top tier. And again, for you guys to be able to riff off one another, and you and Ed just work so well together here. I'm very excited to see that next issue. I'm very excited to see who that next artist is, and their vision and their interpretation for it. So
Yeah, thanks,
very
man.
cool. Yeah, very cool stuff. I have to ask, how was it to have a comic that, here it's by an independent publisher, Invader, and as you said, I didn't realize, of course, at first, but you are somewhat involved with Invader Comics. You like work for them in some regard. So you have this independently published comic book. I'm guessing it's distributed through Penguin or Diamond or whoever's
Diamond.
the distributor on that.
Yep. Yep.
So it's making it into local comic book shops. It's kind of like, I don't know, at least all around the U.S. For somebody like me, I walk into my local comic book shop, and a lot of these independently pressed books, my local comic book shop owner will get like between 1 and 3 copies of. So every time I see anything on the FOC list that I know is going to be an independent publisher that I'm interested in, I immediately hit up my local comic book shop owner and let them know, like, hey, reserve that copy for me, like, please. So I didn't have to go in and have to worry that wasn't going to be sitting there on the shelf, because I had my copy in my pool box ahead of time. But I do know that there was one copy for the sales floor that my local comic book shop owner had. And man, I have to tell you this, the second that the door opened, that was the first book I saw somebody pick up, and I was like, hell yeah, man. All right, me and you got a copy of this book. Cool, very cool. This is kind of something that I asked Lonnie Nadler and Jenna Chaw when I had them on to talk about The Sickness. They've got this hot book that came out, and theirs was selling out everywhere. I think there was a little bit more copies in shops, but it was definitely insanely hard to find. Like, you couldn't find it anywhere, and it was people were selling it secondhand on eBay and stuff like that, wherever secondary markets, and it was just impossible to find, and it was just blowing up, and yours is doing the same thing. Like, it's sold out everywhere. Like, you can't find this in a comic book shop. Everybody that had a few copies sold it instantly. That cover is very, very appealing. That font that you're using for the trade dress there is just looks awesome. It looks like a really cool metal album. It looks like I'm seeing some cattle decapitation or something in there.
Exactly. I was thrilled. I am thrilled at any and all opportunities.
Yeah.
Drop death metal or extreme metal references into my stuff. So we actually had Ed wanted to do a ton of logos. He did like 18 logos or something like that. And then when he did that one, I was like, I want that one.
Yeah, that's cool. Definitely the one.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, this might be more of an abstract question or whatever, but just you've written stuff before, you've published things before. I don't know quite the context of how those books went or whatever, but just how does that feel, man, to know that you're putting stuff out there and out into the ether, and people are just buying it up. It's gone the second that it hits the sales floor at any of these shops. Has to be a great feeling.
It's the best feeling.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling, because I mean, I've had similar stuff happen. I know you warned me beforehand that it would make its way sort of into the music territory, right?
Yes.
Because I've been writing comics for a decade, but I've been making music for two and a half decades, 2.5 times as long. And I remember, like the times where I have found interesting information out in my music career. Like, I remember the first time I got a email from a label that wanted to like give us a contract to release our records on there.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I was sitting in a subway. Like, and not a subway where trains come, a subway where you get a turkey sandwich. Right? Like, not even the interesting kind of subway. I wasn't even having an interesting meal. I was eating a Subway, right? So no, it's very cool, and it's great to get feedback from you, because I don't see a lot of it. It's a great feeling, but it doesn't make its way back to me as much, and maybe the other artists can kind of vouch for this, as much as you would think.
Mm-hmm.
I was thrilled when I went into my local comic shop to get my holds, and my buddy who works there, he's like, dude, we sold out of animals already. I'm like, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to hear. I mean, there's this line that I give probably too often, but hey, let's give it one more time.
Yeah, come on.
In
You
the,
haven't
in the
done it on the
novel,
All New All Different Comics podcast yet.
yeah, exactly. Not here. In the novel Slaughterhouse Five,
Mm-hmm.
the protagonist goes to see the famed or like obscure novelist Kilgore Trout.
Mm-hmm.
And he visits him, and he wants to talk to him about his work. And I'm going to kind of butcher this, but Kilgore Trout says, wow, it's great to meet someone who appreciates my work. I just sit here at my window and make love to the world. And I think, like, I think about that, more often than I probably should, because so many of us, we sit in I mean, I do a lot of my writing right here. I do a lot of my writing downstairs in the bar on the kitchen. I do a lot of my writing in a Starbucks. It's just, you're out in the world doing this stuff, but it's a very solitary endeavor. So when you get these opportunities to go out there, it's why I like doing conventions, and it's why I love just hearing any bit of feedback, or when somebody hits me with a note on Instagram or anywhere, like, hey man, I read Animals 1, I really liked it, like really killer work. It's awesome to hear. So there's this line somebody said, I could live for a week on one compliment. And it definitely applies here. You gave me a compliment, and you maybe even done a couple. So yeah, man, I'm sustained for the next week at least.
Yeah, good at least for like the next month or so.
Exactly. I'm good.
Yeah, no, it really is. With all of that aside, of course you're here, but no, it is a great comic. And like I said, before we even had the opportunity to talk at all, before we corresponded in the slightest bit, when I read the book that day, I was like, man, I have to post this on TikTok, because I know that not a lot of people were able to get this comic.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can help at all, if I can help the community at all by saying like, hey, this is out there, like go find a copy somehow, like I'm gonna do that, because it's just that good. Like I do the same thing with almost anytime I see Tyler Crook put out anything, it's just his stuff just blows my mind. He's such a good writer and artist, and he did Lonesome Hunters, and the second volume just came out a couple of weeks ago as well, and I'm just I push that every time that I can, because it's just so good. And this is that same level to me. This is crafted so well, and I can't say enough good things about it, other than like, go pick it up. If you've not read this comic yet, find some kind of legal way that's going to pay Keith to read this comic, because it's so good, and yeah, it's just awesome. So I just really love the book.
Oh man, again, I appreciate it. It's one of my overlying rules for anything is like, I mean, everything out there is like something. So you would never want to say, I want to do something that no one has ever done before. Okay,
Sure.
whoa. That's impossible, right? Or I think something I told a friend one time is, there are stories that haven't been done.
Mm-hmm.
But odds are they haven't been done for a reason, because they're right. So you do have to fit into some kind of constraint of like a story that might actually be interesting,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but one of my guides is I don't embark on a project if I think the market out there is too cluttered or there's too much like it,
Mm-hmm.
So, are there comics out there that are, stylistically similar or sort of similar to Animals? Sure. But I also like to think that like it's a less dense space of storytelling maybe than other genres or other types of comics, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And we could, even tie that back into music. I'm sorry, you already made the note that I was gonna somehow bring up music, so here I go. But but yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. You have that. Look, we're all out there to create what we love. Bring in elements of inspiration of things that we love and all of that, things that that we grew up on, or things that we actively listen to now, or whatever, whenever we're creating music and stuff like that. And there is this air of pretension sometimes. You have different artists or creators, whatever, who are just their only goal is to be original. It's just, I have to put something out that no one's ever heard before. I have to do something that's never been done. And I get it. That's very cool if you can somehow accomplish that. I don't see how that can be done. There's only so many notes you can play. There's only so many different ways that I can hit a snare drum or whatever. But yeah, I'm, you've got a Mastodon shirt on. You've got Metallica posters behind you on the wall. Like,
Hmm.
uh, you can definitely go in and create some thrash metal and do it in your own way and say what you want to say with that.
Hmm.
Is it going to contain elements of other thrash bands? Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, that's what makes it thrash metal. Otherwise, you're just creating a whole new subgenre of something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that a lot of times people don't appreciate the fact of interpreting something, your own way, or building upon something. A lot of times it's just, again, to me, it's that pretension of having to be so original. And it's just so important. And it's an aspect of storytelling. It's an aspect of writing music. It's an aspect of all of that. Yeah, we all want to create something original that somebody can take and enjoy. But chances are, if it's that original and no one's ever heard anything like it before, well, then yeah, probably for a good reason. They probably don't want to hear something like that.
Right, right. No,
Yeah,
I mean, I obviously agree,
yeah.
and I think this might tie into something else that I feel as a creator, which is, and it's something you hear it a long time ago. You embed it into your thinking, and then it
Mhm.
sort of gets spit out your own way. And I think there's a lot of solace. I'm always going to try to find a story that's been told a little less frequently than somebody else,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
But I think it's a safer place to start from if you say nothing is original.
Mhm.
This isn't original, because the beauty of making art is that you can take something unoriginal, but by you putting your own twist on it, as long as you know what you're doing and you bring yourself, your values, your friends, the way you write dialogue, or the way you play the guitar, or the way you play the
Mhm.
drums, like odds are that you're going to take that thing. You can start with the most common thing in the world and then continue to ask yourself questions like, how would I tell this to make it me? And
Yep.
you're going to get to something original, because the you is the part that people care about. It's not your story as a creator. Yes, original stories is great. And I say far too often on the Making Comics podcast, I am very protective of my ideas. So
Yep.
when I talk about things that are in the hopper, I'm going to be vague, or I'm going to say enough to where I want to convey something, but I definitely don't want to give away anything that I might think is just, a little bit of my Coke secret formula, for
Uh-huh.
lack of a better way to put it. But really, it's you that's the original thing. And to the Metallica Mastodon point, like, I love bands that sound like Metallica and Mastodon. And
Exactly.
and so, like, and that's the thing, right? Like you don't have to reinvent music. You
Mhm.
can just make something that's different, varying degrees of different, and if people like it, they're going to come for it. I mean, I buy comics, I buy superhero comics, I buy
Mhm.
indie comics, I buy music. Like, I was just like checking out some death metal yesterday. It's not original by definition, but I like it.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with just making something, because your own vision, your own talent, all those things, they're going to come through, even if you choose something that other people have chosen. So to me, it's a safer place to start from, knowing that as long as you've done the work and you can continue to do the work, you're going to make something cool that people are going to want to check out.
Exactly, and I think that brings it back to the point that you were saying earlier. With creating, bringing it back to those basics whenever you start out or whatever. Of course, a lot of times, somebody like you play guitar. I play drums. How did you start playing those things? Well, I sat in my garage and played along with like Notorious B.I.G. and Wu-Tang records. Trying to replicate those beats. That's definitely where I was, and then branched out from there. But you have
Mhm.
to have those building blocks in order to be able to do something, in order to create. So
Yeah.
yeah, wonderfully said. I really like your view on that. Super cool. I want to ask, look, did any news or any products, anything blow you away from San Diego Comic Con this year? It was a very, very different San Diego Comic Con. It wasn't the usual what it's turned into, which is, I don't know, television and movie
Hmm.
uh, convention.
Yeah, yeah.
We brought that back down to basics this year. It was comic book related. Of course, there were announcements and trailers and stuff like that, but we also got a lot of comic book news. We heard about, the new Punisher. We heard about Rob Liefeld coming back and doing Cable in the original 5 X-Men comic and another Major X story and stuff like that. So I don't know if, I mean, I know you're out near California. I don't know if you're in San Diego or not, but
Yeah.
oh, okay, so you're in San Diego.
No, I mean I'm in the Inland Empire, so I'm in the inland county of Los Angeles, but I am a hour 40 drive from the San Diego Convention Center right
Yeah,
now.
that's amazing.
I did go to Comic Con. I
Okay.
have a professional badge, so I went on Wednesday night preview night, and I also went all day Sunday.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's look, getting the pro badge is great, you know,
Mhm.
as long as you qualify. And
Yep.
so, I mean, I'll field your question. I'll say two things.
Mhm.
I mean, a product sort of blew me away. Well, I mean, I'm assuming you mean blew me away in that it's sitting on my wall right here. It is above the
Definitely.
computer. And so I am in fact, you can probably see it right there. I am a Doctor Doom guy.
Yeah.
And Mondo did a Doctor Doom poster that actually it's the reason that I went on Sunday, because they released it on a Sunday. So hey, if anybody cares, you can go do a quick web search for Mondo Doctor Doom San Diego 2023, and you'll see a cool like Doctor Doom thing of basically like 9 expressions of Doctor Doom. They did a main version that has Doctor Doom with like, you know, metal mask and the green hood and traces of blue everywhere else. It's only those 3 colors. But then they did a version that almost looks like a blacklight poster, and that is the one that's on my wall right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I hate playing the exclusive game at the convention, but I survived. I got a poster out of it and everything. So and then in terms of news, you know, like I'll zag a little bit, I think, in that being a huge Giant Monster fan, I sat in on okay. The closest thing I thought this year, and I didn't go to a ton of panels, but I basically got an entire Hall H experience in room 26 ABC on Sunday, because they had a panel for the Gamera series that's coming out on Netflix in September. And it is going to be a 6-episode series. It's Gamera's going to fight 5 giant monsters. It's animated. It's got kind of like that new animated look to it, in that it's 2-dimensional, but there's kind of like this crumpled paper look to it, if that makes sense. Anyway, so it's look, it's very cool looking. So I saw a 10-minute cut together bit of the first episode that no one will ever see. I got like a first reveal that they then revealed to the world like 10 seconds later. Seeing like the movie posters and stuff. And then they brought out the director and the monster designer to field questions. And then they showed a few more things. And then at the end, they gave us a postcard that was exclusive to the Gamera panel. And they allowed us to parade over to the signing area where the director and the monster guy signed it to us. So I actually have a postcard to Keith signed by both of them. And so I got to say, man, the Gamera series looks very cool.
Yeah.
I am very excited. It's violent. so I'm in. In the 10-minute teaser I saw, there were some surprisingly violent things, and I was like, they are not going for kids here. So yeah, if you like giant monsters like I might like giant monsters, then the Gamera thing really blew me away, and I'm looking forward to just gorging on that series the day it comes out in September.
Yeah, very, very cool. I haven't seen that. I don't know if it's made its way to YouTube or online or anything just yet, but I know on our last episode, Bob and I we went line by line on some, I would say, some bullet points. Obviously we couldn't talk about everything that happened at San Diego Comic-Con, but we talked of course television and movie news and then comic book news as well. But yeah, that one was somehow for some reason left out of the notes that I had. So I'll definitely be going and checking that out after we get done here.
Yeah.
Very, very
well,
cool.
what caught your fancy? What was the thing that you were like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, I have to say, mainly for me, it was one of the biggest things was I'm not an anime guy. I'm not a manga guy at all. I have no problems with any of that stuff. I think it's super cool, but I just haven't been exposed to very much of it. It's not anything that is in my wheelhouse. I'm so obsessed with comic books. I just keep all my attention there, which is narrow-minded, of course. But that's just kind of where I sit. I have had, so many people around me just talking about One Piece for so long and how great of a story it is, and not for any reason, it's just not been anything. I have no clue what it was about, nothing about it. And then, as Bob and I we were doing our research and we watched the trailer for One Piece and we watched all the trailers and everything. Man, I was just blown away by that. I was like, well, this looks cool. This looks really, really good. I dug a little deeper. It sounds like a very compelling story. I'm really interested in it now. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things for me from San Diego Comic Con. Other than, I'm really happy Superior Spider-Man's coming back. Really excited about that. I'm really excited to see an animated Infinite Crisis, so I think that'll be cool. And there's just so many smaller things out there that happened in comics. I'm excited about this new Punisher. Like I said, I'm really excited about. I can't remember what the name of it is now, but Rob Liefeld, like I was saying before, with the original 5 X-Men there. That's probably, other than the One Piece stuff, going to be my favorite thing out of this. I love the X-Men. That's my favorite book of all time.
Okay.
I love Rob Liefeld. I know he's a controversial creator in comics, but yeah, created some of my favorites. I love Cable a lot. So yeah, I think that's probably my biggest comic book related thing. I can't wait for that. So
no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And that actually brings me to my next question. Now, this one might be a little off the wall. It's fine if you don't have quite an answer or whatever. But we got a lot of information the last couple of weeks about X-Men, about Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, going on there with the death of Miss Marvel and then the resurrection and everything at the Hellfire Gala. Spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't read that yet. But, the 2023 Hellfire Gala just happened, and they always introduce the new X-Men team. I don't know if you've read that book yet. No, not yet. Okay, so I won't say any spoilers there, but I don't know if you're an X-Men guy. I don't know if you're big into Marvel per se or superhero titles, but if you had to pitch a dream X-Men team for Marvel, could you?
Okay. If I had to pitch a dream X-Men team, let me think about it. So I am a child of the 80s X-Men.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For me, I wonder if my team is going to kind of look like everybody else. But for me, I'm going to come back to like my comfort food, right? Which would be Storm for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have Wolverine. I think you have to have Colossus. Let's see, and then I would throw in Jubilee.
My absolute favorite, by the way. So I love Jubilee. Such a wonderful character.
Okay, yeah. And then I mean, I don't know. I'm not as much a Cyclops guy. So if I could get Cyclops out of there,
I can agree with you on that.
Yeah, and then but yeah, sure. I mean, let's throw Beast in there too. And give me well, I can't remember. Like I think it was a hero for at least a little bit, but give me Archangel, the original, the cool like red and blue with the jagged wings thing. But again, was he X-Force? I can't even remember. So I think if Archangel qualifies, then goddamn it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think anything X adjacent qualifies.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Then we're good.
Yeah. We can even go Excalibur, wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah, stop me if I say ecstatics, though. That might be a bridge too far.
Hey, I don't know. Actually, I'm glad you bring up ecstatics. I keep talking about how all these people are my favorite. You can tell how much of a fanboy I am, but Mike Allred is my absolute favorite comic book illustrator in the entire world. There's nothing better than Mike Allred to me. Just and Peter Milligan, a wonderful, wonderful writer. So yeah, that ecstatic stuff, that X-Force to ecstatics, really, really wonderful, really, really fun stuff. Dupe, all of it. I'm down with all of it. So.
Well, and Allred's Silver Surfer run is amazing.
God, yeah.
That run, what did it go, about 20 issues or so, something like that, just charming.
Something like that.
A damn charming run of Silver Surfer.
I'm trying to pull. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
There, but yeah.
There you go, man. It's like a phone screen cred check right there. Your last.
Yeah, Mike Allred on Silver Surfer, and Dan Slott, right?
I think it was Slott.
Yeah, just a dream team there. I mean, just imagine being in the room for some of that. Just mind blowing, but
great stuff.
Yeah, very, very good. Well, look, Keith, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I could sit here and talk for hours with you, but you're a busy guy. You got stuff to do, and I know you got stuff to write, so I don't want to hold you up too long. You already kind of told us what's the future for Animals, and that there's a volume 2 coming out, and again, I cannot wait for that. I'm really intrigued to see how you wrap this story up in just a single issue, like one more issue. I think that that's going to be amazing, and that's going to be a dense, very, very cool, powerful book. So I, strongly advise that everybody, the second you see that on FOC, you absolutely order that. Go to your local comic book shops and demand that there's enough copies coming in for you to have 2 and your friend to have 1. So yeah, make sure that everybody gets that book ordered 100% from Invader Comics. But please tell us, tell the listeners where they can find you. Give us sites, handles, whatever you got. Of course, Invader. Let us know where we can find your music. Talk up your podcast, please. Let us know everywhere we can find you.
Okay, let's try. It's like I'm trying to be the new king of all media, right? Okay, so let's start with like the core and go out. So I am my preferred social media is Instagram. I am Keith_Invader on Instagram. So there you're gonna see stuff from Animals. You're gonna see books I'm reading. I might talk up the podcast a little bit. It's the best thing as a one-stop shop for me. I'm on the other social medias, but that's the one I like, Instagram, and it's the one that I do. So Instagram, Keith_Invader. We are also Invader Comics on Instagram, so that's a great place to find the Invader stuff, all of the stuff that we do. In terms of websites, invadercomics.com is the Invader website. KeithRFoster.com is my website, and so I have pages up for all my books. I do some blog posts, and of course I have a shop where you can grab some books as well. Let's see what else. Podcasts. So Dan, as you so nicely mentioned, I do a podcast on craft with my buddy Scott Lost, also a huge X-Men fan. So yeah, we definitely talk X-Men a little bit, and I do my best to keep up with him. But yeah, so making comics, new episodes every Monday, craft centric. Our premise of the podcast is, what did you do last week? And so the first half of the podcast is us just recapping everything we did last week. It ends up being, over the course of time, it ends up being kind of like a soup to nuts thing of making a comic. Because if you go all the way back and listen, you're going to hear scripts for comics that are now done, and you can follow that process all the way through for Scott and I. So making comics wherever your podcatchers are, and to round it on home, if you want to listen to some music on Spotify, my band Big Pimp Jones is on Spotify. So if you hear Big Pimp Jones, you know what we sound like already. We are a retro throwback funk band. We have some fake soundtracks out there that we did for movies that don't exist in this, in the 70s. And we also have the way very quickly, the way my first comic started was because we did a soundtrack for a label. The label ended up sort of passing on it and going in another direction. And it was a fake funky Godzilla soundtrack. And that fake funky Godzilla soundtrack, we didn't know what to do with it. So I'm like, let me write a comic for it. And that comic became issue 1 of Kadoja. So that soundtrack that I'm talking about is called, I think, Kadoja Terror Mountain Showdown. It's the funkiest Godzilla soundtrack that never existed. And it goes with Kadoja, which is, the giant monster story. So anyway, Big Pimp Jones, we're on Spotify. You can check our stuff out right now.
Man, again, absolute pleasure having you here. I really, really appreciate it. And this went by so fast. I mean, totally. I'm looking at the timer now. I'm like, oh, we just started, but we got plenty of time. Wait a second, it's been an hour, so I can't believe it. But yeah, very, very cool stuff. You will have the same experience whenever you go pick up a copy of Animals. You'll open that first page and blast through it and just be like, oh my God, I have to have the second issue. So yeah, again, before we wrap up, I strongly, strongly advise, if for some odd reason there's still a copy or 2 left on Invader Comics over at their website, pick those up. InvaderComics.com. Check out their store. Make sure you pick those up. Keith, an absolute pleasure. please come back. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me. Happy to be a guest whenever you want, man. Just say the word.
yeah, thank you so much.
Get up.
And we are back with episode number 30 of the all new, all different number one comics podcast. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for checking out that interview with Keith Foster of Animals number 1. Super, super cool book. You're going to definitely want to be checking out Animals number 2 when it drops, whenever that date is, because that's just a fun, scary, scary book. So, Bob, let's get into some comic books that are coming out next week, Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, year of the Bob.
And again, I always start this with,
It's Bob's disclaimer time. That's my new bumper for your disclaimer. Do you like it?
please somebody put that to music.
Yes.
But the list I'm about to read off, it's just a few of the comics coming out. But this is only off one app. I mean, if you want a more comprehensive list, go to like Midtown Comics. There's an app that I just learned about from Dan Comic Geeks, and it's a very comprehensive list. You can search by creator, you can search by writer, you can search by artist. I mean, you go to the feature keys. You can go months and months in advance. So if you want a comprehensive list, please use other resources. I'm just reading a few of the books that are coming out.
Don't worry, kids. Don't let Bob lie to you. He is your comprehensive list of new comics coming out each week. So.
That's a lot of legwork to do. And again, some of them might not come out because life.
I wouldn't worry too much.
But starting from Marvel, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 31.
Bob, how excited are you for the first appearance of Mary Jane as Jackpot?
I mean, it was just a matter of time before she became a superhero heroine.
Yeah, she looks cool as Jackpot. I must say, this one's also got the marriage of Janice Lincoln and Randy Robertson for all of you Randy Robertson heads out there.
Not exactly familiar with the character. But okay.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Going over to DC, because, of course, we have to have DC.
Yeah, sure.
We have
They exist. Yeah.
We have Night Terrors number 3.
This one's got the possible introduction of the House of Horrors, a concept similar to the House of Secrets or House of Mystery. That could be super cool. I really miss those books. House of Mystery, one of my jams, so yeah.
I still want to know what a possible introduction is.
I
mean, it's either
it's
it's going to be an introduction or it's not going to be an introduction.
They're speculating, Bob. It's the comic book world.
I must say this particular title has a very cool 125 incentive.
Oh yeah, man, that thing's awesome. The homage to Incredible Hulk 340. Yeah, very, very cool.
Which will be done till the end of time.
Absolutely. I think, Look, now is the time. I have to say, you've got until next Wednesday. If you want that 1 in 25 incentive on Night Terrors number 3 with the really cool homage cover there, Batman and the Incredible Hulk 340, hit your local comic book shop up. Ask them. You might be the lucky one who gets one. I know I'm going to ask mine. I'm sure it's already taken. So,
going back to Marvel, we have Star Wars Return of the Jedi Max Rebo number 1.
A one-shot that is part of the Star Wars canon of stories. And yeah, I didn't know, this is how lame I am, I didn't know Max Rebo by name. Of course, now that I'm looking at the cover, I understand who the character is. But yeah, man, this could be fun. You were just telling me about a cool story about a flea.
Yeah. Very, very funky side story. Nothing to do with this title.
Sure, just a fun side story.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. Well, no point to bring that up right now. But yeah, very cool.
Sticking with Marvel, we have Star Wars number 37.
Yes, and this one is a Dark Droids crossover part 2.
Yes, which Lando Calrissian may be in some peril, judging by this cover.
Yeah,
but
he's definitely on the cover. So yeah.
Sticking with Marvel, we have a Werewolf by Night number 33.
Yes, a facsimile reprinting, I believe, I'm not too sure, of the second appearance of Moon Knight.
Have they reprinted number 32?
Oh, yeah.
I figured they have. We also have Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance Alpha number 1.
Yeah, this one has the first appearance of the Stitcher, a demonic serial killer, the first appearance of Father Pike, and the origin of Johnny Blaze and Wolverine's first meeting. Very, very cool stuff. Ghost Rider and Wolverine, who doesn't want them together in a book?
Exactly.
It's also got one of these insane Frank Miller variant covers. I'll leave my opinions to myself.
We also have Children of the Vault, Fall of X number 1.
Man, if you're following the X titles, Fall of X is happening. Of course, this is a 4-issue limited series. Cable and Bishop versus the Children of the Vault, a post-human species seen as the next stage of evolution, superior to mutants in every way, who first appeared in X-Men 188.
Don't know how you can get better than Homo Superior.
Well, superior.
Homo X Superior?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Homo Superior X, because if you add X to anything, it's just automatically better, more...
Just don't add 3 X's, Bob, then it means something else.
Yeah, this is true. 4 X's, 2 X's, 3 X's.
Yeah, stay away from that.
And finally, Spider-Man Annual 2023 number 1.
I don't know. I have to say, I really thought the Spider-Man Annual came out today. Maybe I just picked up a different book, but I could have sworn.
You could have.
Either way, this one's got some kind of cool different cover for the Contest of Chaos. It's a crossover. Spider-Man versus Wolverine. Those are the books that are coming out next week. Bob, we have our handy wheel of names here doing a random spin for us to see what book we're going to be covering next week. And next week, it is between Mech Cadets.
Easy
number
for you
1.
to say.
Yeah, sure. From Boom Studios. Infield Gang Massacre number 1 from Image Comics. And The Madness from AWA, or Artists Artisan Association, whatever that's called. And the wheel spins. Where will it land? Only Bob can tell. Looks like we're covering Infield Gang Massacre number 1 from Image Comics. Yay! That will be the book that we're covering next week. Bob, that wraps up the show. Unless you have anything interesting you want to say, you can check us out on Instagram at ANAD_1 Comics Podcast, on Twitter at ANADNO Comic Pod. You can check us out on TikTok at ANAD1 Comics Pod, and on YouTube under the Comic Book Channel. This and every single week, all you have to do is go on social media of your choice, enter the hashtag AllNewAllDifferentNation, and you can be considered in the running to win a copy of the book that we covered this week, with this week being Marvel's Magneto number 1. Guys, you are going to want to get your hands on this rad Howard the Duck variant. 50 years of Howard the Duck in Magneto cosplay, hanging out with Professor X on the cover there. Again, all you have to do is use that hashtag AllNewAllDifferentNation on social media of your choice to be entered in the giveaway. Bob and I will send it postage free. That wraps up the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Whatever words I'm saying. It's time for me to go to bed. Have a good night.